is turning. We are live right now.
Oh, yeah, because sometimes we're live before I'm ready. You mean we're live now?
I think we were live 10 seconds before that.
Whoa, I was still drinking from the bottle. By bottle, I mean water bottle.
Right. Yeah, that's right. A wink.
A little bit later, I'll be doing a neck pull. All right. Well, who do we have with us, Scott, since we're live?
Hold on.
He's checking. He's double checking to make sure
nobody's watching, but that's not true because we've got a lot of people in comment.
Yeah, they're in. So hold on. He's going to make sure. But you know what? You never know. We're going to double check.
Nope. You got it up on there.
We're running.
All right.
The counter is off. All right. Let's zoom in here. Everybody, welcome for joining us Sunday night. What is this? December 22nd. 22nd. That's right. Coming up on
I've been
Christmas.
looking forward to this for a while.
2019. We met Nancy Fraley last year at Iron Root. For those that don't know, she's known as the female nose.
Just the nose.
The nose. Nancy is a gun for hire, so they say.
Hired gun.
Helping distilleries blend whiskeys together and make bad whiskey good whiskey.
Well, it's now your company name, Nancy, is Nosing Services. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
In Berkeley, California.
So go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Welcome, Nancy.
Introduce yourself and kind of tell everybody kind of who you've worked with, that's public knowledge, what you can say.
Yes, Scott.
So I got my start for, I don't know if there are any brandy fans out there. I got my start at the Germain Bourbon distillery here in, up north for me in Ukiah, California. That was started by a fellow that he was a 10th generation cognac maker that came to the States in about 1982. So that's where I got my start in the brandy world, and for about I'm almost going on 10 years now. I've worked as an international consultant and master blender, freelance master blender, if you want to call it that. Hired help, or help. Hired gun.
Hired gun. I like that. International. I like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's I've got a number of international clients too, but there I have a few main distilleries where I effectively am their master blender. I pick all the cask out for all the blends. Make sure quality control is on top of things and such. Among those would, of course, be Joseph Magnus distillery out of D.C., Wyoming whiskey in Kirby, Wyoming. I work up at J. Henry and Sons up in Wisconsin. Iron Root Republic. I don't do all of their blending anymore, but I do help out a few times a year. To go through the cask and such. So,
and you've worked with Del Bach, right? You've also worked with Del Bach.
Oh my God, years ago, yeah,
okay.
yeah, and we'll probably be working again. That's coming year too. So, but yeah, I've known him for a long time.
So that's like a hit parade. I mean, just naming it. We're like, oh yeah.
Virginia Distillery Company, for malt. I used to work with Privateer Rum up in Massachusetts before Maggie Campbell came on. So anyway, yeah, that's just a few.
And today, Joseph Magnus sent us 2 samples to work with here. The Murray Hill Club Special Release. We've got a lot of questions on that because there's some cool casks that were used. And then the Joseph Magnus, the triple cask finished, and this one is batch 86. I know we have an original. What was yours again?
That's batch 6.
Batch 6 from 2 years ago. So that bad boy's selling good.
Yeah, that's.
Well, and a shout out real quick to Billy Hughes, who is the one that sent us the original bottle a while back.
Yeah, 2 years ago or more, 2.5. He said, you've got to try this.
Well, and we also may look at a little bit the cigar malt. We've got batch 2. It's an older batch as well.
I'm hoping we do, because this is Scott's bottle over here and it's not mine, which I'm trying to preserve.
That's great. By the way, before we go further, I of course have to put on the hat. So
I feel you. I feel you there. Now we're talking.
I'm with you there, brother. All right.
Thank you. And that's how I remember when last we met at Iron Root. I remember the hat.
Yeah. That's.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, what do you guys want to dive into?
Well, I think we'll start. I think with the Joseph Magnus bourbon, the triple cask.
Yep. Perfect. Let me hand you that.
Sounds like a plan.
That's a good one, because I know that's actually perfect, because as soon as he showed up, and before we even got the hot tip from you, I, of course, had to open them same day and do some little neck pours, let them open up. And I was like, whoo, this is going to be a fun live show with Nancy. And then you said right away, hey, make sure you prep the bottles, get them open a little bit, let them breathe.
Absolutely.
So a couple tips, because I know you shared those with us, but for anybody else watching, a lot of times folks will time it so that they may be sipping along with us. What are, especially with what we're drinking, but in general, you found that these do well by being opened a little bit and allowed to breathe. Could you talk some more?
Sure. So I find that with the Magnus line of whiskeys that it just, for whatever reason, and maybe in part it's because of my brandy background, that this was a common thing that we used to do there. But I find that if you drink it down and get out of that neck area down to about here, and just allow the bottle to aerate a little bit, you're going to get a much better representation of what the whiskey really is. So,
and even when I came over today, Scott pulled out, what'd you say, batch 6?
Batch 6 of the Joseph.
Yeah,
Magnus.
from 2.5 years ago. And he said, I think this is more flavorful now and has opened up a lot more than when we had it years ago.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I find with these bottles that and again, maybe it's because of the wine influence or the a little bit of the cognac, and in the case of a cigar blend Armagnac, that brandy thing going on, that you just kind of it's like a wine. It gets really tight when you first open it up, and with some aeration, it just really seems to come alive.
And every once in a while, we're going to look over at comments rolling in. So
sure, okay.
If you see us drifting off,
I'm trying to watch them as well. So
yeah, I need like the large print comments version. I'm having to be like, hold on, what did George Kaplan just say?
I'm so with you on that one. I need a large print. I'm getting ready to turn 50 here at the beginning of the year, so that's
us too.
Yep.
Woo, all right.
Yeah, I'm July. I'll turn 50.
I will in February.
Oh,
so yeah, we're a month apart then. So.
Yeah.
Perfect. We're all heading into 50.
Yeah. Woo.
Yeah.
Now let's see. We did talk about before we went live. So batch 6 or even the earlier batches of Joseph Magnus bourbon or triple casks, they're PX, Oloroso sherry, and cognac casks.
Correct.
And you guys still, or Joseph Magnus still continues that with the newer batch. We're up to batch 86 or whatever this bottling was. Still using those same 3 casks or cask types.
Oh yeah, it's not the original same thing.
Right. Yeah.
Still using them casks.
Yeah. Ooh.
And is it still the same ABV? Is it still 50.5 or 100 proof?
50.
So 50.
And I should give you a little bit of background on why that ended up 50 proof. So, I think everybody knows that we've always sourced MGP stock for the Magnus line of whiskeys. the very first whiskeys or the barrels that I got from Magnus or Ford Magnus from of that MGP stock had actually been housed somewhere else outside of the MGP campus, on another, well, I can't really say exactly where it was, but it was in Kentucky, and the conditions were really cool and damp, and the proof fell down very fast over the years. So I really had no choice but to bottle it at around 50 proof, 100 proof. Some of those casks were actually well below 100.
I still like how you kept the secret there. About an hour from now, I'm going to circle back and try to work it out.
I have a big, hopefully, what I might call a crowd pleaser tonight. I just dawned on me that I might want to pull out of my basement, as I like to call it, an undisclosed location in Berkeley, California. Right here, I've got a sample of the that I took from the bottle that I had of the original 1892 Magnus. That I took a needle and syringe, and it went down through the.
Really?
Yeah, that's right. Because this is a recreation.
Yes.
Yeah.
It took me about an hour to actually get that needle and the syringe down through there, so I could pull up samples. But anyway, this is it, and I don't know if you can see that 1892 on there. I keep it in a UV bottle. And I've got a second sample. This is my sample A. I've got a sample B downstairs too, just in case I break one. It's got.
Don't break it. Do not break one of them. I didn't even want to hear that.
Exactly, but that is the original juice right there.
Wow. I thought you were going to say I got a sample B in case Bart comes over. Hello. You even named it B, sample B.
Sample B.
I'll be over there like, Nancy, where's that basement?
Yeah, like I said, it's in that quote undisclosed location in Berkeley, California.
Good call.
And the original bottle, of course, went back to the family, the remainder of it. But yeah, I've got the only, I guess, extant sample of it. But anyway, yeah.
That's right. Scott and I feel a road trip coming on. Your Christmas at your house is legendary. We've already heard about Armagnacs, cognacs.
Anytime at my house is legendary.
There you go. What was I thinking? Anytime. I limited it to Christmas. What was that?
Oh, yeah, that's
anytime.
Nancy, can you see the question that Chris Beaton asked? I got highlighted there.
Or
do you know
it'll be up on the screen.
In Alberta, Canada? I don't know. I have to admit, I just stick strictly with production stuff. I'm not quite sure. I thought I heard something about us going into Canada. I don't know about Alberta though right now, but yeah, I'm sorry I can't answer that. I sure wish I would.
Chris will do a road trip as well with a secret area in his trunk of his car. He can put it down in. You don't need a tire or a jack. You just save that space.
Works for me.
That's right. Joseph Magnus space is what we call that.
Yeah, don't handle the sample, right?
Yes, that's right.
We'll have to dip into it. So. Woo. Fair enough.
So now even this Joseph Magnus, and it is a new bottle, but I mean, it reminds me of the first batch that we had originally. In other words, it comes off. It's got a great bourbon nose, and I even went in, got a little sip of it. Yeah, but still, even now, it's still a little stuffy. A lot of that, the wine isn't showing like it is on this bottle. Has been open for a little bit, but that wine has really started to come through.
And the other one, sure, yeah, that makes sense.
But the nose and the palate on it, still just like the other, it's great. And I think even when we reviewed the other one, and I had said, it's kind of hard for some of these wine cask finishes to beat a bourbon, to come through that bourbon profile.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so strong.
And when we had the cigar blend at roughly the same time, right out of the bottle, it was just fabulous. And whereas you're right, when you said try this, do you remember what this tastes like? I don't remember it being that flavorful. The batch 6 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, I'd actually have to look and see even how when that was, but I know it's been at least 2 years, probably.
Right.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. Some of the older stock that I've got that I keep down in my basement and such. When I dip back into that, I pick up things that weren't there before, and so yeah, you definitely do need to aerate that bottle some and take a little off the neck so you can.
Now, Richie Z, a longtime fan, has a great one for you. He says, "Hi, Nancy Fraley, legend." I like that. That was good.
How long should I let it sit in the glass to air out the neck pour? How is it with water? So what I would probably do would be to let it aerate. I like to do it for at least a day. If not, maybe a few days. Just me. But I find that it. What I like to do is just if I have another little sample bottle, I'll just pour some of that neck off, in the liquid in that space. Get it kind of down around in here, and I'll go back to that sample later and drink it. But that way, you've got a little bit of oxygen, and it really makes a difference.
I'll tell Eric to open it tonight, and at least, like you say, pour some off of it and separate it. Yeah, and let it start getting some air now. It's definitely going to help it.
Yeah, it just I find consistently. I think about every bottle I've ever had of it. It feels very tight when you first open it.
Yeah,
like a wine, and it does have fortified wine in it after all. So
well, and the thing is though, and we tell people probably 9 out of 10 whiskeys, if not more, get better with air.
9 out of 10, if not more. That'd be 10 out of 10.
9.9, 9.5.
Heck yeah, absolutely. I see a question coming at me from Oak and Smoke. Should I go on this?
Yeah, if you want.
Did a Nancy do with Coppercraft Distillery? Well, I helped. I did the formulation for their the blend of whiskeys with using their own distillate and with some MGP stock and such. I haven't been as really hands-on with Coppercraft. I'd say the way I have with Joseph Magnus, but I'm there maybe once a year, twice a year to check in on things, kind of see what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just pour the neck pour over my pancakes.
Yeah, Tom R's got it figured out.
Tom, look at that.
I like that philosophy. Yep.
Wake up from a nap. Oh yeah, 10 out of 10 whiskeys get better in my belly, says Eric. Wait, we call Eric the sniper.
Eric, yeah, good time.
Yeah, Eric the sniper is what we call him. He'll just pop in.
Yeah, Eric is in my neck of the woods, isn't he? Here in California.
Yeah,
if I'm mistaken. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
definitely.
I just saw.
Oh,
there's a little cowbell coming. Where'd it go?
Yep, and then we got a classic. That this is the sound of cowbell. You always want more cowbell. We'll highlight that because that's a question.
Yep.
We warned Nancy about the cowbell.
Christopher David, Nancy, can you share in news on the future of Joseph Magnus, including the Murray Hill Club cocktail lounge in DC?
Oh yeah, with the cocktail lounge.
Uh-oh. Locked up.
What happened?
Give her a second. There we go.
There we go.
All right. You locked up there for a
second.
I
think DC and Cocktail Lounge came in and the NSA stepped in for a second.
Yeah. Sorry, you got. Oh, are you there? Okay. Yeah. All right. So yeah, we're all back. I actually don't know when it's going to. I don't really know what the plans are on reopening. Like I said, all I deal with is just strictly, production stuff. Making the whiskey and such. So yeah, I don't know what the.
You had said that the Joseph. Oh, sorry, we're still cutting out a little bit.
That's okay. Yeah, but
you had said originally that Joseph Magnus is sourced MGP.
Mm-hmm.
What is Joseph Magnus, or they're distilling their own? Or, are they releasing anything that's been their own distilled juice?
That juice is still really young. So, it's what started distilling in, was it 15? I think 2015. Yeah, that juice is still too young to even touch right now. The age of, when we started with the source juice, though, 8 years old at that point. What I've been working with, this year, for example, is now 13 years old.
Oh,
so it's gotten old. That stock has obviously gotten older, as time has progressed. But yeah, I definitely like to. I like working with older distillate. I don't want to have to work with that 4-year-old juice.
Yeah.
If I don't have to, yeah.
Unless it's iron roots and it's
there you go.
Oh well, now that's a different story.
Right.
Yeah, they're the equivalent of like a 3-year-old kid smoking Marlboro.
Yeah. Texas climate, it's a whole other story. What kind of Irish whiskey does Nancy enjoy?
And cowbell.
Little cowbell.
Okay. I like Redbreast 12.
There you go.
What? Yeah. I tend to. Gosh, I have to say, I haven't been drinking that much malt of any sort in a little while, which I need to get back to. So I really miss my malt.
Me too.
I've drank and I've got several now new editions of Irish whiskeys just because my wife started drinking Irish whiskey, and so I've had to add several to my shelf.
Yeah, and she would get his Redbreast 15 and kill it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, kill it. And turn out to be.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I popped in once. I'm like, man, you're really hitting your Redbreast 15. You're like, no, I'm not.
Boy, that's I like that. That is some good whiskey right there.
Yes.
Eric Waite says that he picked up a bottle of Joseph Magnus Murray Hill Club, or so Joseph Magnus is the bourbon,
right?
If you say Joseph Magnus, the actual distillery is Joss A. Magnus, correct?
Right.
And company, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right out of DC.
So then they've got there's the Joseph Magnus Bourbon, there's the Murray Hill Club, the Joseph Magnus Cigar Blend.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other additions that they've done?
There's the which we'll be dipping into here in a little bit, the Murray Hill Club, the special.
Right. Okay.
I do an annual special edition of that. And also Family Reserve, which comes in a bottle looking like that. Yeah, this is, and I only do that when I declare, when I find barrels that are just really exceptional, that I'm worth it. I'm working on one. So I've only, this will be the second time that I've declared a family reserve. That I'm hopefully will be coming up in the spring, and I can talk about that a little later. But
well, we'll have you back on the show.
Yeah. That's going to be about 13 to 22 years old. Blend, or I should say the bourbons in that blend.
And this will be the second time you've declared a family one.
Correct. Yeah.
I like that.
So and the only original, or at least so far, what the brands that were part of the original Magnus distillery from the 1892 to 1917 is Murray Hill Club and the Joseph Magnus bourbon, or the straight bourbon.
So Brittany Williams asked, she says, how do you guys drink so often? My body and brain would need first aid.
Oh, no.
First of all, you don't need your liver. It's just kind of, it's something that was thrown in there at the last minute. Nobody even knows what it does.
Now, see, don't listen to that.
And
you want a good whiskey sips slowly.
Yeah.
And it is good. You're getting so much flavor punch. This isn't like you're throwing down half a bottle.
Right.
Yeah, because we run into that at work all the time. Mm-hmm. We got all these guys. They'll be like, "How do you drink that?" I drink a case of Bud Light. I'm like, "Oh God, I don't drink that much."
My God,
what do you do? Yeah, who's really doing the damage? I'm like, but as soon as they hear bourbon or whiskey, they ooh, and I'm like, "Oh my God, a case."
That's how I feel. I mean, I like beer, but at least with whiskey, I know exactly what it takes.
Yeah.
Where my cutoff point is.
Well, yeah. And I mean, even with beer, though, Scott knows this. When I drink beer, I like a thick, rich, like dark, heavy beer. I mean, even that, there's if
to that. That's
there you go. Yeah, I didn't drink the idea of drinking a case of water would like put me under. Here's the case of water. Drink that over the weekend. I'm like, what? Do that?
Yeah, I know. I love heavy, rich beers. It's stouts, Russian Imperial stouts. All
talk some good
porters. Yeah.
Yeah. Just real quick though, back to the Joseph Magnus, and we can move on to the Murray Hill Club.
Yeah,
but it's a great bourbon. There's a little bit of the rye that's showing. It's coming through. That wine, the wine casking is really just starting to show, I think, on here. And like you say, it's just kind of stuffy when you first open it. Give it some air, give it some oxygen, and I'll testify that it does. I mean, after a couple of months or more,
that it continues to open, and
that wine influence really starts.
There's a lot of changing and shifting. Yeah. I mean, we'll throw these on the shelf and let them just catch some time.
Yeah, catch time. Exactly. That's I hear you on that. But it definitely does have to have time to open up. And there's just no question about that.
But even this, I mean, right out of popping. Well, you opened it the other day, and you've had a little bit poured out of it. It's still very tasty. It's a great bourbon, just a nice mouthfeel, nice finish. And I mean, it only gets better from there. But
that's one thing I would love. I would love to come in with like a silver Sharpie and just like tick mark it, and then come back in a month and take a little more and tick mark it, and then keep notes and see how it changes.
Oh, I like that. That's an interesting idea to do.
I would love, just like put a little number, a little mark, and then make a little note and see like, when's this, how does it shift? When's it shift? Because you actually did surprise me with that when you came in. You were like, try this old one.
Yeah.
So I know I've said that already, but I was like, that caught me off guard. I didn't even think you had any more of it left.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it evolves, and it really evolves.
All right, let's move. I'm going to rinse my palate, and we'll move on to
this Murray Hill Club special release is very, very special. And can you tell us a little bit about these casks that are labeled here?
So are we going to move on to that before regular Murray Hill? And that's fine if we are.
We don't have Murray Hill.
Oh.
Yep, just the special.
I wish we did. Yeah,
my bad. I
Okay.
sent you notes. I may have messed that one up when I sent you a note.
In that case, okay, then that makes sense.
You want to do the cigar blend in between, or do that next maybe?
No, I think the this year's Murray Hill special just for palates would be a better place to land right now than going over to heavy land over to cigar blend. So so this, well, as I mentioned before, that, thank you much, Oak and Smoke, by the way.
Cowbell for him.
That's
real
a great
quick.
name.
Oak and Smoke, you bet.
Yeah. So I mentioned I've worked with a Virginia distillery company before, and they're a malt, a barley malt distillery in Virginia, and doing a kick-ass job. I hope it's okay for me to say that on.
You betcha.
Yeah, you let it fly. Let it fly. Kicking
Kick it on down the road. So they had done a cask finish that I absolutely adored, and it is their Virginia distillery, their cider cask finish. And what they did was they were working with two cideries in Virginia, and there's a cider making region there, and I just absolutely adored that whiskey. I thought that the cider just brought a whole new level of complexity to the whiskey. What was just really exciting, and I like using when I do the Murray Hill Club special release. I think Murray Hill is a better template to do special releases and kind of odd cask finishes than some of the other whiskeys that we do. And so I ended up getting about 7 casks from Virginia Distillery Company that had first been used to make Virginia ciders. And then they had put their at Virginia Distillery. Then they had put their their own malt in there. And then I got a hold of the cask, and it's a profile I really like. I love malt, and I don't know if you guys had the Murray Hill special that I did last year that was finished in the Pinot de Charente cask, but that was kind of on the sweeter, grapier side of things. I just wanted to go completely opposite direction for this year. And so that is the...
And the nose on this is wonderful. I love it. It makes me want to keep nosing.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a white grape. It's a lighter, sweeter scent that's in there that I don't know that I've had on or picked up on anything.
But with like some kitchen spices thrown in, and I don't know if it's just a suggestion, but I swear I'm getting some of those like tangy, cidery kind of notes.
Yeah, it had the barrels, the cider cask, which I was kind of surprised to find this had Arthur Lopez. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I was going to say on these cider casks, they still had a fair amount of lees in them. And do you guys know what lees are? It's the so when you're making say cider or wine or something like that, it's the essentially the dead yeast cells, and they're kind of cake onto kind of this whitish stuff that will cake onto the cask, and you get a lot of fat and a lot of flavor from there. So fortunately, by the time I got these casks, they still had a lot of lees to them. And so so I put these into cask, I want to say end of March, beginning of April of this year. They were evolving beautifully through the summer, and around August, I found that they were kind of losing a little bit of that malt and cider character. So I got more cask from Virginia Distillery Company, and then entered the whiskey back into those fresh casks just to pick up a little bit more flavor again. So it's really had two bouts of the cider malt cask, or two finishes of it, I would say. So
I love this.
It's got a real, the mouthfeel on it is really nice. That it's got to be the cider finish in it. It's just really mellowed everything out and really kind of, it's melded together so nice and just really married together nicely.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Got a little orange marmalade right there.
Oh, it's such a good noser.
Yeah.
To me, I don't know if you guys get this, but on the palate, I get some acidity on it too, and not overbearing, but just again, I get that from the lees that came from the cider, kind of like a yeast type of note, which is really interesting to me. But I definitely kind of get some acidity in there too, along with the sweetness and a little bit of malt.
Yeah, very light citrus. Think apples, think pears.
It's almost, now this may be weird. You can tell me where I'm getting this. I almost get and it's like a hint of effervescence. It's not bubbly or anything, but I get this and it could be some of the ABV coming through, but it's right. And then after I swallow, that's when all those rich malty flavors start coming through.
Oh, I know what you mean about the effervescence, and that could have. I can't imagine that by the time that the cask got to me that there was any CO2 left.
No, I don't think so either. I think it's more of like the lightness of the dram. And what is the ABV?
55.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 55.
It hides it well. It does not feel that strong. You need to add a little drop of water.
Yeah, I unfortunately didn't well, I can just add a little drop for my glass right here to kind of let that open up a bit.
Yeah, very nice indeed.
Good finishing, like creamy caramels on the finish.
I like that.
Yeah, touches of marshmallow and cream and caramel.
Yep, that's right. And fat does equal flavor, to answer Charles Ashworth, but fat can also it can add flavor, but it can also shorten the nose on a spirit too. So, and just FYI, fun factoid.
I love it. God, I like this one. This one, right from the neck pour, I was getting a lot of like those special flavors on it. So,
well, it's interesting that I've found I've got a which unfortunately you guys don't have the benefit to have, but I've got a immediate pre-bottling sample and the post-bottling right here with me. And one thing I realized is it took a little time for it to kind of it got a little agitated when it went through the filtration process and bottling. So I think now it's I've noticed it's really started to settle down. The mouth the mouthfeel was initially a little aggressive, but that's really started to settle down. And I don't know if you in your bottle if you found a little bit of that bite or not, but that's it should have calmed down by now. And it definitely once you pour off a little bit up from that neck, it ought to. Yes, I love peated Scotch. To answer that question there.
Cowbell real quick for Killfish.
All right. That's I love well, I wouldn't say all peated, well, almost every peated Scotch from Lefroy to Ardbeg.
Yes.
It's all fair game to me. I love that taste. Love it, love it, love it.
Me too. Me too. Perfect.
But I'm glad you guys like this. It's been I did the initial prototypes about a year and a half, 2 years ago on this when I kind of came up with the concept for it, and it's been just a work in progress and labor of love, and a lot has gone into perfecting this whiskey. Components on it are 10 to 20 years for it. So
very nice.
Wow.
So yeah,
water didn't hurt it at all. A couple drops of water. Actually, I think it brought out a little bit more of the oak, a little bit more astringency with it right now. Anyway, early on.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I mean, it's got the palate on it is really good, and it's long. The tannins are grabbing hold of the taste buds, and still there.
Now, so I'm curious about your creative process. So obviously, the gate you mentioned the genesis, the idea, and then is the way your process works is you just kind of think, oh, you know what, this might work well with the juice from distillery X, and then you kind of reach out to them and say, I have an idea, or how does that work?
Well, it's funny, creativity, how that tends to work, and it's usually when I'm like off on a hike somewhere, playing my bass guitar, whatever it is, and I get struck by lightning and get an idea for something that I think would work really well. But yeah, that's how it worked for this. I just did it dawned on me that those two flavors would really work well together. With the Virginia Distillery Company cider cask finish, with the Murray Hill. The Murray Hill to me is just a great template for doing all kinds of interesting finishes, and I just being a big malt fan, and I like cider too.
That's one area where I don't have a lot of experience is cider. Same with you. What would you say? What are the highlights that you'll get from a good cider?
Boy, that is a
yeah, I don't know. That may be a terrible question.
On the style. There's so much involved with that, but I tend to like drier, crisp type of ciders personally, with just a little sweetness for backbone, but it's with this, it just kind of came down to a matter of experimentation with what kind of cider cask would work well. And again, because I worked with the Virginia Distillery Company, I already knew what kind of cider cask they were using and what had been in there previously. So and oftentimes it's we talked about last year when I had the Iron Root family here, the licorice family here at my house, and around 11:30 midnight, out come the graduated cylinders playing around, and that's how I find my creative life on this, and that's how I found it with the Magnus too, and we'll talk about that too when we get over to Cigar Blend in a few.
You like to tease Marcia licorice about you got to watch Marcia. We like to tease her about picking stuff up was laying around, because our challenge coin she loves.
Boom.
Those are mine. Where'd my challenge coin?
It's in my pocket.
You see Marcia scurrying off.
Yeah, you better not leave a sample sitting around. Be like, where'd my sample of that that special thing from Nancy go? Marcia would be like, I haven't seen it. I'm like, what? What's in your pocket?
That's Marcia for you, all right.
Oh, yeah. So I'm just cleaning up. I was just cleaning up. Don't clean around here. You got graduated cylinders.
Oh,
Now, Carino has a question for you, Carino1.
Yeah.
And he's actually was responsible for us getting our first Del Bach. And he's sent us a couple of Del Bachs.
Well done. So does Nancy have a simple blending or finishing exercise for its home gamers? Well, that's a good question. I think I don't know that, you can kind of simulate cask finishing, by adding a little bit of sherry to whiskey and all, but you'll never get the kind of oxidative reactions that you would actually get from a barrel. Probably what I would find more interesting would be to take some of your favorite bourbons or malts or whatever it is that you're into, and kind of study flavor profiles. And I'm all for home blenders to and encourage them to start playing around with the things that they can make. What you'll probably find is that this is one of my sayings I say all the time, but in the world of blending, 2 + 2 very rarely equals 4. It's often -5 or 17, or it's just you'll find that components that you think would work well together don't always work well together. And I just encourage you to take the things that you can find commercially out there, bourbons, for example. Add some Old Forester to, I don't know, Maker's Mark or whatever. See what actually happens, and you'll really start learning a lot about how flavors work together in profiles. And
I see you missed out, Nancy, because that was the perfect opportunity for you to say you need to take my Master Blenders course.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
that's how you go from being a home gamer to a real gamer.
Yeah, that's right.
You need to take my course. That's
it.
Little cowbell again. Kilco coming back. Have you two or Nancy looked into New England whiskey? I have not heard of any New England whiskey.
Is that the company?
I definitely have, and I have to say it's been a while since I've been to that part of the world. But yeah, there are some good New England whiskeys out there, and a lot of good stuff.
Our cowbell keeps banging itself here, and I mean that literally. Yeah, it keeps moving, and we've set it down. That cowbell wants to be rung again.
All right.
It keeps slightly dunk, 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 dunk. It almost had a Christmas thing going there.
I put my hand on it to stop it, and sped up.
Yeah, it was like
going harder.
What happened?
Dang.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
Sorry, that threw us at that. We had a Christmas ghost.
Now, Richie Z has a question. This is one that I usually defer. I'm like, well, you'll have to wait for our review or our video to come out of our top whiskeys. But Richie Z wants to know if you have a current favorite whiskey of the past year.
Yeah, I will defer.
So, I assume they mean of 2019.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh boy.
Wait for the video. That's what we say. That's what you gotta say. You gotta wait.
You'd be like, you got to come to my master's class.
Well, I really like the Murray Hill Club cider cask finish.
There you go. Actually, that is a good club.
My new family reserve from Magnus that's coming out. Wow. The finish on that sucker is just really.
Now, I mean, especially after hearing these are hand select casks that you picked out,
and rare.
I would definitely be in search of one of those. Are those available everywhere? Are they pretty? I know it'd be. You're looking at a single barrel.
Well, so, that you mean for the family reserve?
Yeah.
Well, now that's not going to come out until probably the springtime. But that said, what I did for that, I used 2 13-year-old barrels as the base of it, and it has a lot of about 4 20-year-old casks that I've added to that, and there's not a whole lot of juice at that point in the barrels, as you can imagine. And a little 21, and probably at the beginning of the year, I'll be adding a little 22 to it.
Wow.
So, we're kind of in now what we call dormancy season, where the barrels are, they're not very active, and it's not a real good time to make to work with the blend. But that blend's definitely a work in progress.
But I don't know that I've seen those bottles before. So I mean, are those just going to be online? Probably we're going to have to find a store that's selling those.
No, I have to admit, I have no idea how they're going to market that or allocate it, or how that's going to happen. Like I said, I just work with the juice. Yeah. I'll let somebody else do the rest.
Yeah. I mean, in the past, or how many bottles do you think? How many bottles do you think?
Did you get out of your first one? How many bottles do you remember came out of your first?
Oh God, yeah. It might be on here. How many came out of the first? Is it on the original? It was 192 bottles.
Good Lord.
Lord have mercy.
That was a blend of a 16-year-old cask and an 18-year-old. I did for that one. This is probably going to come out more than that. Just knowing, kind of what I've added to it. I want to say maybe 2 to 250 of it, but bottles of it. I'm not quite sure, how the marketing and all.
I think you got to have like the title of senator in front of your name for that bottle.
Yeah, I just looked on Wine Searcher and it's not available anymore.
Yeah, they would come over and be like, "Hello, I'm probably even senator from Kentucky."
Which I have to admit, on a personal level, that to me is a real shame, because I, as a whiskey fan, not to mention, as a master blender, just as a fan,
sure,
having access to good whiskey and
But look, you're busy, so you're putting good stuff out other places and here too. Yeah, you can't have everything all the time. We get it. Oh yeah, yeah. Sometimes you just listen though and go, woo. And maybe at some point I'll show up somewhere. You know who will have it? Marcia. Marshall will have some.
Marcia, that's what I was grabbing there.
Yes.
You had a hand in the Icker as well, didn't you?
I did not, actually.
Oh, you did not?
Really?
Not that my theories and my methods and my techniques didn't end up in there, but I actually did not help out with that blend. But I just brought home a bottle of it because I was teaching my master blender class down at Iron Root Republic a few weeks ago, and I managed to bring home a bottle with me. And I do have to say, I'm thrilled with how that turned out. And the guys have been listening to me over the years.
Well,
they tell us they listen to you.
61.5%. Now, see, and the story, and why I thought you had a hand in it, which I was just guessing, was because it's 48 months. It's 4 years old. Originally, they were billing it as a 5-year-old whiskey. And when we were down there, and even when I went down to the 5th anniversary, and Robert and Jonathan both said, yeah, it was 5 years old, but it was just a little rowdy. It was a little rough, and they had to use some 4-year-old whiskey to kind of tame it down a little bit. And
absolutely,
I figured that was you. Because I knew you'd been there and you've worked with them a little bit. I figured Nancy came in and said, no,
you're
going to have to that one.
To be fair, we're very simpatico at this point. They know what I would probably do anyways. So.
There you go.
Well, good.
I think we got to bring the cigar.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm with you on that. So are we moving over to a cigar blend?
Yeah, we got a few minutes left yet. So we grabbed batch 2 of the cigar. Hey, wait, real quick though, because I was thinking earlier. So this is the Murray Hill Club special release.
Correct.
The Joseph Magnus is a bourbon triple cask. What the standard release of Murray Hill is what?
Bourbon.
It is technically a blended bourbon. Okay. So it, it has to have at least 51% of the straight bourbon in the mash bill. Now, what I do for that, which I've got a little bit of right here, I use these days I'm using a just about 20% of a light whiskey. Of a 10-year-old, with the majority of the blend being 11 to 12 years old of straight bourbon, with a little bit of that 19, 20-year-old bourbon in there for good measure. So the way I designed it is to be a little bit more, I hate when people use this term, but I'm going to do it. What the heck? Just a little smoother, if it makes sense. And I know you guys know what I mean by smooth.
Yeah,
it's not a good term to use in our. Oh, I'm going to have to take this thing from Knoxville here.
Yep, do it.
Scotch Test Dummy is curious if Nancy ever returns to Knoxville for K-Town, Knox Vegas, for any events, as I'm a fellow alum of University of Tennessee. Well, yes, actually, I do return there occasionally, and was it 2 years ago from the University of Tennessee, I got a distinguished alumni award from there. I'm sorry, that's shameless.
Absolutely not. Nope.
Promotion, as a daughter of Tennessee, and I'm a native Tennessean, and I'm actually thinking about buying a piece of property there in the next few years, and
beautiful
a toehold back in Tennessee again.
Nice.
So good walls. That. So, any suggestions for wine finished whiskeys beyond sherry or PX, like
cab
or cab finish? Well, yeah, that's actually a really good question, and
I've been loving some Marsala finishes, Manzanilla and Amontillados.
Yes, and any kind of fortified wine finish, regular wine, like a Pinot Noir or cab finish, and those type of things. You depends on the tannin content of the whiskey that you have going in there. So it's going to be, or going into the cask, the tannins from the grape skins and such can just give you a lot of aggressiveness and notes that are probably not that appealing. So the way that you work with wine, that kind of wine cask, you really have to be very careful. And I think it's just better to work with fortified wine, like Marsala, just like exactly what you said, Scott. So
I did recently pick up. Let's pull this bad boy up right here.
On, he's pulling up something heavy. Apparently,
like this one.
Yeah, hold on. What do you? Oh, look at this.
They won't be able to see. How about a Paulo Cortado 20-year Bunnahabhain?
Oh my God! I'm going to have it right now.
Yeah.
Send that right through the.
It's my precious. My precious.
I just while you're looking at that, I'll be grabbing that bottle.
Just a totally off note, and if you guys want to take this offline later, but I think everybody would be kind of interested in that because we're all turning 50 this year, or in 2020. I'm curious. I'm looking for that dream dram this year. coming up, and I just a thing to think about. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about what you might want to get for your birthday dram.
I don't even know if I'd put any thought into that at all.
Right now, just if there was anything you might want to.
How about we got a 50 milliliter sample of tomato and 50 year old.
Oh God. Get out of here. Get away. I don't want to talk to you.
Oh, please. Once again, I just want to get lost in your basement. That's all I'm saying. I'll be like, I can't find my way out, Nancy. I'm going to drink free. And I mean free. Like, I'd be like, oh, I'm looking. Hold on. There's an Armagnac over here.
Oh yeah, I've got a lot of vintage Armagnacs. Downstairs, well, upstairs too in my armoire.
Oh my goodness,
50, 60-year-old stuff. I've got one from the 1900s in there.
Goodness,
it's a wild place around here.
Yeah, you get like the Jacobins and Robespierre running around. Be like, whoa, where'd you get this?
I'm just going to take this question real quick from Jason Fisk. Looks like, did Nancy work with Wyoming whiskey? Yes, I did, and I do. I came on with Wyoming whiskey in, what was it, October of 2014, and I'm still very much on board. Yeah, master blender there as well. So
beautiful.
Are we ready to?
The cigar.
Walk us through that.
Cigar.
I just said cigar malt, cigar blend.
Yes.
Cigar blend.
Woo. Now this one is Armagnac, cognac, and sherry.
Yep.
Oloroso.
Yes, but let me explain that. So really any kind of influence you're getting from the cask is going to be coming exclusively from the Armagnac. So this I probably add in the blend, and this is batch 2. So at that time I was using about 20% of the regular Joseph Magnus. So I would add, once I'd make up a coupe or, what we call a proto blend of the Joseph Magnus triple cask, I'd take about 20% of that kind of as the base of the blend. And the rest of that would be some high rye bourbon cask. There were, at that time that probably would have been 11, 12 years old. And for that particular expression, the oldest component would have been about 18 years old, which is now 20 or 21, getting ready to be 22. But anyway, that said, it finishes an Armagnac cask, and so the influence that you're really getting is coming from the Armagnac.
Really? Yeah, it's very nice. And man, that is, I haven't had this for a while, but boy, is that a mouthfeel.
Yeah.
Oh, that one's opened up too. Yeah, I'm going to have to finish this off and tell.
Gotta wait for Marcia.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm like Marcia out here to.
That's it. She'll take care of it for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Just Marcia's probably like, why is that tall guy so mean? Just teasing, Marcia. You're great.
Yes. I love Marcia.
Us too, yeah. She's great.
How about any Japanese whiskeys, Nancy? Are you sipping on any of those?
Oh, I love Japanese whiskey. I love the Hakushu, Abiki 12, 17. And I can't make any promises, but for this coming year, I might be doing something along those lines. Japanese lines. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, cool.
So, But yeah, I love Japanese whiskeys. Love them. So, yeah, that's in fact, I don't know if I might need to postpone my trip a little bit, but for our 50th birthdays, I like to say, I was on my way to, I was originally going to go next month to Japan to do a little work over there and look at some cask finishing possibilities, but I might need to move that over until spring. But anyway, that said, I love Japanese whiskey, and I think it'd be fun to work with some cask finishing in that direction.
Awesome. Now, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask because I just remembered, and we're over the hour mark now. I think we're still doing good.
Great.
But
good.
So we talked about there's probably 2.5 years ago when we reviewed Joseph Magnus and the cigar blend.
Mm-hmm.
And you sent us an email. We didn't know you. I mean, we knew who you were.
We knew of you, but
we knew of you.
We had not met you at that time.
And so you had watched apparently, and you sent us an email, and we kind of talked. We were always trying to hook up and do a live stream like this, and just you're busy. It hadn't worked out until we met at Iron Root last year.
That was perfect. We timed it so we could actually get down there when you were there.
Well, that played a factor. Yeah.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. How that all worked out.
How did you remember though? I mean, were you searching Joseph Magnus reviews on YouTube? Did somebody
you saw the tall guy and you were like, I gotta watch this show.
Look at that goofy bastard.
Look at his hat. I love that guy already.
Well, I do love hats. I've got a whole collection, and I've been wearing them for years of my own. But yes, the hats were definitely an attraction.
There we go.
I have to admit, I'm often curious. Cigar blend is one of my children, and it's something I'm so personally and deeply involved in, and I could created just out on my my deck out here under the redwoods. So I often look out just to see what people have to say about things like that, and what kind of reviews, what people are thinking. Do they like it? You're always curious of how people like your work. And that's how I found you, and I reached out, and it's
it took Marcia to bring us all together.
Yeah,
just to bring it back.
This is a great connector. I have to say.
Though, from our end, though, I mean that is nice though too to hear from someone involved in that process. We've been on YouTube for over 6 years now, 800, 900 reviews. And how many people have we heard from? A handful.
Right.
That reach out and say, hey, I saw the review, loved it, or thanks for the good word.
Sometimes you're a little bit over the top.
Yeah, I am. That's the Santa hat that does it. They're like, God, look at that guy.
You might have set them off. And they were like, it was good Scottish fellas like, look at this show. Nope, that little fella there, I can't take him. I can't take him. The loud guy yelling, test it for 10 minutes straight. That I could watch all day long.
Well, I have to say as a blender, I take my work really seriously. I try not to take myself too seriously, if that makes sense.
100%.
But that said, I'm always curious what people think about. I put a lot of time and effort into the things, and into the blends I do, and certainly with Joseph Magnus and Cigar blend, and all the whole line of whiskeys, but in particular the Murray Hill Special and all of that, Family Reserve. I'm thinking about these things all the time, and I want people to enjoy it, and so I like seeing what's going on out there, what people think.
How much of the year do you spend traveling on the road and moving? I mean, I know from meeting you, you're out a lot.
Depends on the time of the year. So, so here in the States, if you want to call it blending season, really starts the beginning of spring. So I would say, and it kind of goes from south to north. So, in my Texas clients, for example, don't have too much of a dormant winter season, obviously, but probably during my busiest months, I'd have to say I'm out there probably. I think of months like April, May, and June. I'm probably gone every week of the month. I just come home for the weekends. I'll come home on Friday night, and I'm back out the door. Okay. Exactly. And that's just the way it is. It's rough, but I love what I do, and
well, and I know you mentioned too that you'll even check on samples that will be sent to you, so that you can keep a tab on a set of casks or something and make sure it's not like go time for, hey, bottle it or something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I am really, the certain blends or the higher end things I've done before, like Cigar blend or Murray Hill cider finish or Family Reserve or J. Henry limited edition, or whatever it is. I'm probably checking on it every 2 weeks. And having and I think you guys heard I broke my ankle back over the summer, so yeah. I was grounded for a while, but I got samples sent, and it would give very explicit directions what I needed done, and but yeah, I take all that very seriously, and it's it's a serious job, but again, you just don't want to take yourself too seriously.
I hear you. We hear you on that one. Well, cool.
Let's do a couple quick questions. We'll shut her down. But Eric Evanson there is asking you: have you ever done any rye blends or rye with a wine finish?
Definitely rye blends. If you're familiar with Wyoming Whiskey Outrider. That's it was a kind of a long story behind that one, but it's a blend of a rye bourbon and a rye-ish whiskey with 48% rye in the mash bill, which didn't meet up to the legal 51%. That's been beautiful. I have
had that one when we met in Austin at Iron Root last year. You had that one, and I remember that was one that you'd sent around. And I think everybody got to try.
Oh, it is exactly. Except it's 2 years older now, the latest version. And some of those casks, I have to say, are just off the charts at this point. Have I done wine finishes with rye? God, I'm trying to think. That
one, the Outrider wasn't a wine finish.
That's not. I have worked with other ryes, and I'm just not thinking at the moment of any wine cask finish I've done with it before. But I love working with rye, and I'm a huge rye fan. So it's really, really, really fun spirit to work with.
It is peppery, those black pepper notes that are in there.
Yeah, and as it ages, it gets those almost cherry type of notes to it. Which I love that.
Yeah, rye is so bold.
Oh, it's fantastic. Does Nancy have from Tom R? Does Nancy have a way of resetting the sniffer when doing all the blends? She does.
Good question.
Lineups. Well, yeah, actually I do, and it's very low tech. It's called your arm. So you just sniff into your own, your own skin. Essentially, that's probably better than any kind of reset. I know people that do coffee beans and all kinds of other things. And
I have Scott sniff my arm.
How does it smell?
Yeah, it's the smell. It's the smell of 6'6".
That reset. There's a lot of hair on there too.
Yeah. I call it the 6x6 reset. Is what I call it.
Well, that's the 5'2" reset.
Ah, there you go, the 5'2".
You bet.
I think you left something behind. What is it, like a hickey on my arm now or something?
There's a lot of suction in there. That's all I got to say.
You got a strong sniffer yourself, sir.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, you're supposed to use your own arm.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you threw me. You threw me. You got a strong grip.
Arthur Lopez. Nancy did not help with the blending on the Icker. But he says that was one of his top 3 of 2019s. But he wants to know which Armagnac for a beginner. Ooh. Where should he start?
For a beginner, if you're wanting to explore the whole world of vintage Armagnacs, maybe go with a DeRoze. That's DARROZE, 20 or 30-year-old. So look to spend $100 to $130 or so on that, but that would be a great place to start on that.
And that's a 30-year-old Armagnac at that price.
It is. It's a what is it called? Le Grand Assemblage. So it's a blend of Armagnacs that will be 30 years old, but that'd be a great place to start. The whole world of Armagnac is, we could do a whole other episode on that.
Sure.
But that would be a great place. Also with the Lord Armagnac 25. There are a number of places to start with that. Probably with the Bod's Armagnac, and just to make sure that for any French speakers out there or here in the States, the S in Bod's Armagnac is definitely pronounced. You wouldn't find that in any other part of France, but it's definitely it's in Bod's Armagnac. So.
All right, well, Nancy, I think we can wrap it up on that. Thank you.
Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Thanks to Joseph Magnus. And for you, we've been looking forward to doing a live show with you for a couple of years.
And we've been talking about this thing for 2 years, and just to finish off right here too. When this is ready, you guys are you're going to have to get some of the Family Reserve.
Yes.
Okay. I like the way you talk.
Yep.
I'll let him reset his nasal
We're
palate.
definitely thinking the same thing here.
Yeah. I'll let him reset that nasal palate again.
Nancy, are you on Twitter or Instagram, Facebook?
I'm on Facebook. I have to admit, I'm so low and slow tech.
Me too.
That's
He's always throwing little nicknames at me and tweeting stuff, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah. I've got a Instagram account. I don't check it that much, but it's I'm living in a whole other century.
You're great. Yeah. The other day he's like, I posted it on the IG. I'm like, what is the IG? He goes, Instagram. I'm like, well, whatever.
Everybody.
I don't know that. The IG. I was like, what is that? I thought it was a stock.
What's just so the people know that are watching, if they want to follow you, what's your username on Instagram? Because it's something different, isn't it?
It's either Nancy Fraley, Nancy L. Fraley, or it could be Whiskey Blender.
I was thinking you had a different.
I can't remember if I do it anonymously as Whiskey Blender, but that might be it.
Got it. He's pulling up his IG account now. See how I worked it in? Now I'm in the know. I called it the IG.
You think it might be what?
Either Nancy Fraley, Nancy L. Fraley, or Whiskey Blender.
Now, while he's looking,
with the E or without the E?
Goodness.
E, in whiskey, yeah. E in whiskey.
Now, with that, I got to know: will you put out what the initial L stands for in your middle name?
Yeah, I was named after my parents' dentist.
All right, tell us more. I love that already.
Lynn, Lynne.
Okay, very cool.
Southern Nancy Lynn. Nancy Lynn?
Nancy Lynn. I like it. You can go by that. That's what you'll go by once you get your property down there.
Yeah, exactly. That's
where you headed, Nancy Lynn? Your basement's just got Armagnac and cognacs everywhere.
All right. If you're Nancy L. Fraley, you're followed by West of West Whiskey, the Whiskey Gentleman, and 16 others.
Yeah,
that we follow. But you have 0 posts.
Oh,
Nancy.
Look at that!
Like I said, I live in the 19th century. So.
I'm with Nancy. You just throw one bottle out there with a cognac on there. That's perfect. Let's wrap her up.
Yeah. Nancy, thank you for joining us.
Thanks
to everybody that tuned in. Appreciate it greatly. Thanks for the super chats.
And scotch it, you Scotch God.
Well, listen, gentlemen, it's always a pleasure hanging out with you. And I look forward to the next time we do this again. And everyone that's out there, thanks.
That means we succeeded.
And I look forward to doing it live. We'll hang out live
from Berkeley.
Soon.
You bet.
Ooh, yeah. There we go. We'll be in there.
Exactly. You can drink some.
Yeah. Yes.
That's it. It's a lunch, dummies.
It's lunch, dummies.
You bet. It's lunch. Cheers.
It'll wind
still
down,
but
it's
here.
still